Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Stephen the Warman Writes Kickfighting Podcast Show. I'm your host, Stephen the Warman. You are listening to this podcast in various ways. The most efficient ways are either go to my blog, which is lordgaul.podbean.com. Lord Gaul was my name back when I used to post in the fight forums, Kakatugi, K1 Fans, K1 USA. And the other way is to enter Warman Kickfighting Show into the iTunes search engine, and my show pops right up. So I'm going to get into the action today, and I'm also going to just talk about the state of the game, the state of how I see the kickboxing world right now as it stands, and things to look forward to as we go into this fall to winter season. The main card I'm going to go ahead and jump into is I'm going to talk about I'll start Glory. We'll go ahead and start with the Glory Kickboxing card, which was fantastic. I've said it several times. The special thing about the kickboxing world, or the special thing about the kickboxing sport, is when we are on our game, I feel like the action in kickboxing, the back and forth is the best. It's the highest level of skill in terms of being in the pocket, being able to exchange shots, daring to be great, finding counters, the diversity in finding offense between your orthodox and your switch stance offense, your working the inside of the leg, the rear leg, the calf. I feel like when it's all put together, and you have not just the skill set, but you have the offensive aggression. That's something in somebody that desires to not go down. Not today. I'm going to be champion. That brings about some of the best action of all time. So that's why you look at a fight like, probably the best fight of the last 25 years in kickboxing is you're always going to go to Mike Zambides, and you're going to go against, or you're going to look at Mike Zambides versus Shahid Al-Haj. And when you look at that fight, Zambidi Shahid, the main thing is both guys look like they wanted it so bad. And even when they took big offensive, uh, you know, moves from one another, they stayed right in the pocket, despite the fact that it was a high kick, despite the fact that it was a big time overhand over the top. They looked like they weren't going anywhere, but the skill level was high. So they weren't just banging and swinging wild. They looked technical as they did it. And I think that in today's sport, sometimes we get a little bit too technical and we forget that that's what makes things special. Tonight we had a really, really good example of what you want to see at the highest level. Now, again, it was weird. Clearly we just had a title fight just recently. I'm assuming something happened contract wise, and or there's some sort of dispute. Maybe it's weight. Who knows? But we are the champion that we thought we were going to have. The guy that we thought that was going to be champion for a while. For whatever reason, there must have been some sort of contract dispute, or some, maybe hopefully they're still working through it. But I'm realizing that this title fight that they put together between Baram Rajabzada, he's coming off of a loss, a KO loss, and Tariq Kababez, he's coming off a loss to the champion. So we're looking at guys who are. Sorry about that, everyone. I felt like, sneeze coming on in chest, and I was like, okay, I'm mumbling my words and I'm not going off my notes. Let me back up real quick. Just had to clear everything up. So I apologize. For those on the podcast who are listening to it audio, you may not have noticed the change. But for those who are on the YouTube, you're for sure seeing the change. So I definitely apologize. So anyways, let's get back to it. I'm all cleared up. So basically, we're looking at Sergey Masaboyev is not in this anymore. So right now, he, for whatever reason, and maybe he'll work it out. It's happened before. They had to work something out. He came back. But he is your champion, a championship that he won in June, if I remember correctly. So here we are, and we are in October, and they have a fight for the vacant title against two guys who are coming off losses. So I can understand how that's going to have less and less people attracted or interested in the fight, just because you're like, hey, they still sold out. They still did a good job. Glory's killing it, fighting, and they found their niche and they're doing shows that make money on a regular basis. I think that this card that they put together is a really good example of high level fighters who, even though they're not the guy who's the champion, they still can put on that type of performance. And man, these guys, between the knockdowns, between the consistency, Tree Kababez is always all action. He's bringing it. Combos and low kicks. He is a KO stance. He is going to rip it. He's going to get in the pocket. He's going to throw heat. Bram Rabjabzada, of course, is just an absolute madman. This guy is going to try to kill you. Any opportunity to get is he'll try to kill you. His cardio will slow, and then he'll go back to starting to kill you. Like as soon as he catches his breath, he's right back at it. But it's not just that he's throwing heat. He also mixes the high kicks in there. He'll mix a step knee in there. He'll mix a high teep and then back to the boxing. He is a hard guy with his aggression and speed to get a hold of for 5 rounds. Tree Kababez was able to do that. He was able to score more consistent. Got in trouble, got hurt even in the fifth, but is able to battle back. All action fighter, a lot of fun to watch. A little bit older, So as I mentioned before, in terms of making new stars, he's just a regular stronghold in the division. So the hope is that he would, defend and reign for a little bit, and then someone young would come along and be the better. And that's kind of the hope moving forward. But it's always going to be interesting. I wanted to start off with that because I really thought that that fight represented what you want to see at the highest level of kickboxing, for people to be shaking their head and be like, bro, this fight. So we have another example of that, but that's the one that stands out the most as it finished the card. And sometimes you can have a great event and then your last fight isn't what you wanted to be. This wasn't the case. Tariq Babez and Baram Rabzada really put on a great performance. So I'm going to go ahead and look at some of the undercard fights. I've got Mo Amin as he gets a victory over Errol Conning. Clear 30-27, Mosum 29-20 on the other. Very good kickboxing, clean performance. Errol Conning has been in the game for a little bit. No standout victories as of yet that you look at and you go, hey, man, this is a win that's going to carry this guy to the future. So he was hoping that Mo Amin would be that example. It was not. Mo was the better of the two in this one. Back to the drawing board for Koning and see if Mo Amin can build off of it. Next is Brajad Proposti, who they've used on a regular basis. I like. They've used him regular throughout the years. I like having him on the card. He gets a victory over, I hope I'm pronouncing this young man's names right, but Aitor Ibanez. Talented performer, Prapashi. He's got some really good performances out there. He's a very skilled kickboxer. I've always liked his ability to put his combos together, to move and then find offense, and then bang it out when it comes down to it. He gets the victory clear, 30-27 on all 5 cards, excuse me. Then we get Miguel Trindad as he goes against Halil Katoki. I was trying to make sure I got this name right, but I believe it's Ku Toktu. And I think that this particular fight between Miguel Trindad, so he's in the tournament. He's supposed to go against Boba Soka. Like, that was it. He's supposed to move on. So he misses weight. And I think what upset everyone was they were a little confused at kind of how he ended up still fighting on the card. And Bobo Sokto did not fight on the card. But they're in a longer tournament for the year. So when it didn't happen, the question you had to ask was, is it worth it to Bobo Soka, who's going to move on to this next tournament anyways? He probably got to show money. Is it worth it for him to risk more money and going in the tournament down the road as opposed to getting an opportunity on this card? So there's a really good chance, and like I said, I'll bring it up with K1 because it happened when I was on K1 too. There's a really good chance that they could have had a guy for him, and he turned the guy down and said, hey, I would like this fighting opportunity in the tournament. I was already going against one of the tougher guys. That guy misses weight. Now he's out of the picture. I have the opportunity to beat a guy who's, not as good or as skilled on a higher level, or at least I get to move on to a really good guy with one less good guy to get to him, So that really could have been his thought process there. A lot of people felt like Trindad was rewarded with the fight, whereas it should have been Bobo Soko's fight. But in truth, they were just trying to keep him on the card. They got a guy to take the fight in 24 hours notice. And even though it didn't go Katuku's way, I still think it's dope that he took it on 24 hours. He's like, hey, this is my opportunity to get a fight in glory. Hopefully they do him well, and it's a multi-fight. This didn't get a full camp, just pretty much chilling, doing your regular training. You get the opportunity and you jumped on it. So I hope that they use him, in the next, 5-6 months, because he did a favor, hopped in there, and I was really hoping that he gets that opportunity. As far as the Miguel Trinidad goes, clearly you don't want to miss weight. Doesn't have, a long history of it, but sometimes your day happens and you've got to move up in weight. Of the guys walking the planet, Miguel Trinidad is one of the most important kickboxers. He's young. He is crazy fast and skilled. Uh, he has good skill set, good power. He scored two knockdowns in this fight, one in the third and one in the second with step knees. I believe that was second. It could have been the first. But he finished the fight with a viral video moment where in the last 10 seconds of the fight, he empties the tank and throws full speed. Some people counted it up to 30 shots in 10 seconds. And he's going full blow for the kill, fast as ever. And stuff like that is what wins eyes. It's what makes people say, I want to see this guy again. It is 1,000,000,000% the right decision to do everything in their power to make sure that he had a fight in this card. He is a young star in this sport, and we need young stars. We don't have them. We don't have enough of these young guys, and it's going to take some time. And it also means losses. Sometimes these guys are going to put in great efforts. They're going to grow. They're going to get better. And they're going to get that step up. It's not going to go their way. And I can give you a long list of guys throughout history when they get that big step up opportunity, it didn't go their way the first time. But they stayed with it. They kept going, and it improved. I've said the Badr Hari situation with Stefan Leiko a million times. That I think it was 1 minute before that spinning back kick landed and put him down. And then in the rematch, he on the bigger stage, he got the spinning hook kick. So it's one of those things where I'm like, you have to dare to be great, and it does means wins and losses are gonna, or losses are gonna happen, I should say. But man, when you get your opportunity to perform and to win an audience, Miguel Trinidad, we're on year 3 now. I think his ever since the Abraham Vidalis fight, he has made himself known as a guy who is a threat in this division. He's a star. They've got something special there, and they've got to get behind him. So 1,000,000,000%, Bobo Soko not taking the fight with anybody else and moving on to the next round. Wise decision. The decision to make if you are in a tournament, especially a long monthly tournament like that they're going through. And 100% Glory working to make sure Miguel Trinidad was on the card. 1 bajillion% the right decision. You got to keep a guy that talented. That's a young future of your sport. He's got to be in the card. So fantastic stuff in that decision. And then, of course, the athlete's got to be the athlete. Miguel Trinidad went out and proved once again why he is such a special kickboxer in this combat sports world. He is a talent. Next, we move on to Levi Rickers as he gets a victory over Asadila Nesipov. KO with the knee in the third. More skilled throughout, more diversity, very slick. Levi Rickers is hard to get a rhythm on. He's one of those guys, like if you fight Rico, you can get a rhythm on him really quick. He's just really good. So he gets his combos to low kick game working right away. He'll need a leg. He'll need the back rear leg. He'll put a head kick in there every once in a while, and he'll play clean boxing. If you go against Rico, you know what you're getting. You just have to know how to beat it. If you go against Levi Rickers, you do not know what you're getting. He might come out, play a low kick game. He might snap the high kick. He might play with the boxing for a little bit. He might find a step knee. It's hard to get the rhythm on him. So guys, because of that, they try to get their own offensive going, and the next thing you know, you're here with a spinning back fist. He just has that type of offsetting style. He was able to get it done with the knee and move on in the tournament. Sofiane Leidbouni gets a victory over Nabil Khashab, and it's funny because Khashab has been fighting for a while, and some people, because of his aesthetics, they're not the biggest fan of him. He does carry a lot of stomach, and he is all action, shorter guy who's going to get close and just let that heat go. But the more skilled guy in Laduni really showed up today. Like he has been skilled since I've seen him. The main thing I get on him is he doesn't have big time KO pop for a heavyweight. Now, of course, this generation of heavyweight is different. It's different than when I fell in love with the sport. The Mike Bernardos and the Jerome LeBanners, that style of guy who were technical, but they let that heat go a lot more. It was very important for that era of guy to get close and try to kill you. Even when you had your Peter Artses of the world and your Ernesto Hus, they were technical, but they got knockouts, you know. So this era, much more technical, I'd say from top to bottom, all of the heavyweights. Skill wise, I'd say they're more technical, but also there's got to be a strong argument made for the fact that they are not known for being hitters as well. Sofia Laboni, Nabil Kashab is going to be tough for anybody to stop. Like he's just as the way he takes his offense, shorter guy. He goes to decision. I think with decision with Rico. You know, like he's a shorter guy, but he is game and he's going to throw his overhand, and you got to be conscious of it. And Leiboni was ready for it. He's just very skilled. Found the left hand, got off the line, offsetting kicks to keep the balance of Kashab from getting settled and being able to throw that heat. He's talented, man. He's a talented guy. He moves on. Then next we have Milios, a name that I have butchered several times, I hope. Kjefčsin. Milios gets a victory over Alan the Cheetah. Very, very talented, 30-26. The thing about Milios is he's shorter. And even though I butchered his name, he's still a super talent. I'm going to have to... Every time I listen to the broadcast, I feel like I hear it different every single time. So that's why when I'm sit down, I'm like, Ms. Yetsinen, and I'm like trying to go off how they say it. I apologize for Emilios, but I do want to spend the time to talk about how skilled you are. He is as talented as it comes in terms of his athleticism, his movement. He's coming off of upset victory in the last tournament round. I did not think he was going to win that one, even though I thought he'd be competitive. He gets the win over a cut. He was down to go back there again if the opportunity would have happened. But he comes out here, lands one of the smoothest spinning hook kicks you're ever going to see. To Nishita's credit, he was able to get up, but man, that thing landed clean, and he, got to his feet. Excuse me, that was against Raj Apachik. That was later on. I apologize. Milos gets the victory here. Unanimous decision. He does get a knockdown. 30-26 on most of the cards. 29-28 in the last one. Raj Apachik gets a victory over Mike Hanna. It's about as dominant as you can get. To kind of his credit, he kept battling, kept getting up, kept, trying to get back into the fight. But man, anytime you see a scorecard of 29-24, you done some stuff. And as I mentioned before, kind of, was able to get a round off of him. He still battled and got a round off of him. But Radkop Apachik doing really good. He's liking his time in Holland. He's growing and getting better. Very talented guy. Excited to see more from his future. Sergey Braun gets a victory over Elias Hamashi, who was disqualified for threatening the ref after he didn't like something. Unfortunately, that's the one black eye on the card. Sergey Braun is a veteran. He's been in this game for a while. It's been in the division for a while. It should have just been skill versus skill, but fighters are fighters. I don't know what happened between communication or what he didn't like, but he went off threatening the ref, and they did the right call. You got to pull a guy if something like that happens. You cannot just allow people to be verbally aggressive with the guys who run, who have to dictate the action that's in the ring. They have to take up safety into people's account, and there are going to be things that they don't like, and there's going to be holding calls that you don't like, but you can't turn it into violence against the refs. Next, we have Sofiane Ladion as he gets a big-time upset victory over Levi Rickers, the surprise of the night. 28-28 on two of the scorecards, 29-27 on two more, and 30-27 majority decision. He's skilled, man. He's very good. Left hand, drop Rickers. He is not the new, young, bright, super get behind kickboxer that some people might want, but he's a new name to have at the top. And if he wins this, they're for sure going to put him in the Rico sweepstakes. He's going to be in that argument. He will meet, he'll move on. And then we've got Milios, as I mentioned before. He got the victory over Rad Pachik. He got the spinning hook back, the spinning hook kick for the knockdown. Those two move on. Those two heavyweights are very skilled. They're very good, very athletic. Milios in particular, because he's a smaller guy. He can make light heavyweight. But really good stuff. Very good glory card. Good action. Sold out card, in terms of the attendance. Just got to keep building. Now, right now, the card that they have put together, hopefully we get Trinidad on there. Hopefully we get Snow on there. We just got to get more young people, young names. The game is going to be about new young stars And moving forward, that's going to be the hope for all of kickboxing is how do we develop the guys who are going to carry the sport for the next 10 years? Right now, the game seems to be how do we recycle the stars that we have now, which is dope because we so love seeing them. But man, at some period of time, you're going to have to find another elite young up and comer. It's just the game needs it. We have no chance if we don't have that. Next, I'm going to talk about the K1 card. I was at this K1 event, went out to Japan, and I've had some down months with kickboxing. Of course, I was trying to put together a K1 USA card, and just the Texas Commission battled us so much on medicals and just little things. And it's almost like they didn't want us to do the show. And I've tried to do the show twice this year and just kept running into obstacles and just it wasn't good. But we had a sold out pro kickboxing card in America. And then few days before the event, this guy medical this, this guy medical that. So I wasn't able to put the K1 card together. We've got to postpone. We got to try it again and early next year. But man, it was just heartbreaking because I love kickboxing and I want to be a part of making new stars. I look at this K1 card. It had a mix of everything. It's got some, old stars, holding their ground, and then it's got some new names kind of making their way. Names that we've heard before, but younger and moving up the ranks. And then we had some people fall short. That's just kind of how the sport's going to be. I'm going to go ahead and start right after the Heroes card because they had some interesting things in the card. As far as the mix of MMA, Heroes kind of making a return just with two fights. But I'm going to go ahead and talk about the fights that happened right after that. Kiro Matsutani gets a victory over Akai Samutsu and an extra round split decision. I bring this fight up because, in my personal opinion, Samutsu was the better fighter throughout. And I thought it was clear. He was so slick with his left hand. He was so good at getting off the line. He was so good with good, well timed high kicks and boxing. I just thought he kickboxed beautifully. I thought he did a great job. But man, Kira Matsutani would just come out every once in a while and have like a 40-second period of time where he blitzed a lot of power offense with some kicks and some spin stuff. And somehow, when they went to the extra, an extra that I thought was clear for Samutsu, it ends up going to an extra round. And in the extra round, I would say that Motsutani was still outscored a little bit, but he had another brief period of time where he like won the scorecards and 10-9, 10-10-9, the extra round went his way. Um, I disagreed with the call. That was just my decision or my opinion on it. I thought it was a good fight. I just didn't like that decision. I thought that should have gone to the more clean technical work of Samatsu. I thought he moved well. I really liked his clean left hand. I thought he avoided big shots, but I think it's because the fight kind of told the story of you're scoring, but you're just standing away. You're not exchanging. But when Matsutani gets close to you, he's trying to kill. He's trying to kill. And I think they gave him a lot of credit. Now, the history of Japanese scoring is if there's no deciding clear cut winner in a round, it's called 10-10. And also, they do like, as I call it, you guys heard me say on the show a million times, the sexy shots. They like the shots where people are really being aggressive and throwing wide shots and going for the kill. That's what we had here today. It went, Matsutani's way, but I did think Samotsu should have gotten the nod. Next, we have one of my favorite fights of the year. Akihiro Kaneko as he gets a victory, defends his title over Koji Ikeda. Let me tell you something. All right, so this is why this is one of my favorite fights of the year. It showed what championship metal is, what it's like when you bite down on the mouthpiece and you go back and you go, oh, not today. I can't believe you're up. Koji Ikeda came out and was absolutely beautiful with his kickboxing in round one. He was kidding Kaneko with everything. All of his boxing scored, his low kick work scored, his body kick. He got off the line. He brought the aggression. He took the fight to Kaneko. It was 10. I was like, bro, we're going to see a title change. This guy was all over him. And then championship medal, Akihiro Kaneko, who I've seen fight both the times the last few years that I've gone out to Japan to watch K1 events or to be there. This time I was working it. Both times, Kaneko was on the card. And both times, this guy showed great skill set and the ability to turn it up when things are close or not going his way. And in round freaking two, he turned it up. I mean, he just started to sit on his power shots. He didn't care about the offense that was coming back. And then he scored a big town knockdown off of 3-2, if I remember correctly. After he gets the score, the whole fight changed. Akedo was all of a sudden in trouble. He's the one going backwards. Kaneko is walking him down looking for power shots. Kaneko gets the next round as well. He takes the card 29-26 and 29-27 on the other two. Man, this guy's dope. This guy is an amazingly skilled fighter. He brought the heat. He is must see TV. K1's got something with him. Of course, we've been talking about it before, the migration that's been happening where the K1 guys are building their star brand in Japan. And then One Championship's offering them, more money. They've got more money in the back, even though their company isn't announcing or promoting or telling everyone that we're making a profit. They're still spending and paying fighters. And kickboxing, more than most in the world. Like only very few people. It's just them in glory. There's some glory guys that are getting paid more, but man, if you look at some of the paychecks on some of these guys in Japan, you saw it with Wajima, who's also just recently announced that he's going to One Championship. All the K1 guys who've built a name for themselves are trying to finish out their K1 contracts and then go over. So when you get a Kaneko, it's important that they work it out however possible, if possible, that he could stay because he's a star that they built, and Misaki Nori's a star that they built. Takuro's a star that they built. It proves you can do this. You can go to kickboxing, stars can be made, and all the ones that I named are after the golden era of kickboxing. All of them are after the 2011 collapse of kickboxing when we didn't have a heavyweight K1 World Grand Prix, where fighters were all over the place, where named guys were not as prevalent, and then glory kind of emerged afterwards and slowly built it up. But K1 had to restructure and put it all together and build stars all over again, and they did a great job of it. So now, after they get these stars, you're seeing, One Championship, who that's their next big step. They've got to work on building new stars. But right now, they're just buying old stars, the stars that are already established. So it makes sense that Kaneko is going to get an offer at some period of time. But while K1's got him, take care of him. He's putting on good fights. He's an awesome competitor. Hope to see more from him down the road. He truly is one of the 10 guys in kickboxing you need to watch. Next, we've got gonna get into the K1 Max tournament. Gonna work through those cards. We've got Jonas Shaliska goes against. I'm gonna mess this name. I'm Salem Khan. No, I'm not. Ibrigimov. He gets a unanimous decision, 30-26, 30-27, 29-27. Knockdown scored in the fight. Good clean offense from him. Fun fight to watch. Next, we have one of my favorite fights on the card. Alfociano Kamara as he gets a victory over Abidjan Marina. This is why it's one of my favorite fights. Marino comes out in this one. He comes out in this one and he sends the message in the first 10 seconds. He throws heat right off the bat. And then Kamara was like, let's go. And he started banging him out. He got Monaro in trouble. He's able, he scored a knockdown. He's able to stop the fight with punches in the first round. Keep your eyes out on this young man. Kamara, young guy, French speaking, brought the heat, all action style, and he answered. He received violence and he answered with violence. He didn't shell up. He didn't earmuff up. He says, hey, it's game on. He was able to go out there, put in a great performance, get a TKO stoppage. Got to have stoppages. Stoppages help build your brand. Stoppages and knockouts. Good stuff there. I'm excited to see this young man, Kamara. He's very good. He's warming up with this on the back. He's skilled. I want to see more from him. Next up, we have Yameric Lazizi gets a victory over Abril Hamelian and our Cheetahs, we're called. 30-29, 29-28, 29-28, close fight. Kickboxing, more skill in this one, a little bit more patient. Nothing stand out about the performance, but he did enough to make sure he got his hands raised. So Lazizi moves on. Zora Akapian, who's they fought for them before, he's a regular, gets a victory over Jonathan Alulu, the Samoan fighter. Just clean work. I saw a 30-26 scorecard, 30-27, 30-28 in the other two. He was just really good at scoring his boxing, getting off the line. He's good at making sure that, um, Aulu was not able to sit on shots and work. Uh, they're still that connection to the old. So when they did his broadcast, when they did his package, his video package, they kept showing a little with Stefan Lecco, and I'm seeing him in the back right before he walks out, and they're talking about Lecco and they're talking about Hunt, and then I was like, they couldn't put Jordan Ty on there, I just kind of joke with him, but only us kickboxing junkies get that joke. But he came out and he was game. He was a little bit disappointed because he really wanted to put on performance that would make them want to use him on a regular basis, but Zora Akapian, Akapian, very skilled, good boxing, good kickboxing. Made sure he didn't receive the big offense. Moved the right way. He moves on. Another guy from last year who's got his second opportunity in K1. Then we go to Monaro Kimura as he gets a victory over Mason Strodeman. I mentioned you guys before. Mason Strodeman comes down to Texas. My first champion, Cooley, owns a gym in Minnesota called Warman Muay Thai. And he has a product in Mason who was a jiu-jitsu guy who came over to kickboxing, who fell in love with it and was an absolute killer. He's doing a good job. He won a tournament or a qualifying tournament earlier in the year. We had a different opponent at first, and then it was moved to Kamaru kind of about a week and a half before the fight, maybe 2 weeks. But Strodeman was game. He was down to go out there, and we knew the best opportunity we had was we had to get out. We had to get the fight into later waters. We knew Kamaru would come guns blazing. We know about his, steroid history. We know about him throwing heats. Got a lot of big KOs over a lot of big guys. We needed to get out of the first minute and a half, 2 minutes. We weren't able to do that. Too skilled, too fast, and then just Mason had mentioned the calmness. Mason came out, landed body kick. He came guns blazing. Mason landed a shot, and then Kamaru right afterwards just started throwing a million shots. He was just more aggressive, more experienced against high level guys. It didn't go our way. And we understand, in America, we have, unfortunately, there's some people that almost wanted to stay amateur forever and they don't want to see certain guys have success or get international opportunities. But if you know who I am, and you can ask anybody in this country, if I think you're dope, from Troy Jones to Charles Rodriguez, the guys who I think are good enough for the opportunities, I'm going to reach out to you and I'm going to make that call and I'm going to do it for free. So it's not like I'm like, hey, this guy paid me or this guy paid me. If you look at my history of when I was a Glory Kickboxing matchmaker, and even though I'm not even on, working for them anymore since COVID hit and so on, I still will send Robbie, pay attention to this guy, pay attention to this guy, not just from America, from all over the world. So if you think your guy's good enough for that opportunity, I'm going to promote him, I'm going to get behind him, and I'm going to push. If I hear your guy's good, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to watch video, and I'm going to push him. Mason won a qualifying tournament. He won by stoppage in all three fights. And he went out there and it didn't go his way the first time. In the way that it didn't go Badahari's way the first time. In the way that it didn't go a lot of guys' way their first opportunity. But he's also 23, 24 years old. So the goal is for you to perform well, better, get back to the gym, and be your best version the next time out. Just didn't go our way this time. But I still get behind my first champion coup. Love him to death. Will always be there for him. Mason Stroman, it didn't go our way. Back to the gym. Another international opportunity will come and be your best version then. Minoru Kimura, the crowd was behind him. He's a veteran. They know who he is. He's fought a lot of guys, and he's aggressive and he's all action. So tournament bracket wise, he got a tough draw in the next one, but he is the Japanese speaking representative in the tournament. So we'll wish him all the best moving forward. Just he's got a tough draw because Kravalinsky was who I was with when I was in Glory Kickboxing. Just hilarious seeing him in the back. But that's going to be a tough fight. Next one, Daryl Verdonk gets a victory over Nitrej Zyelinbekov. I believe I pronounced that right. Blowout. Daryl Verdonk is the truth. Dutch fighter came out 3 knockdowns in round 1. Superior with the boxing, superior with the angles, walked him down, threw big time shots, was able to get a victory. It should be noted that the original opponent for Mason Strodeman was Nurtlik. We were supposed to fight that gentleman. We move on. The next one is Stoyan Karpovlensky as he gets your victory over Dennis Tupa. Just superior throughout. It was 20. It was 30-29 because he didn't land any offense to really separate himself in the card. But he still was the better kickboxer in all three fights. Tupa was game, but Stoyan Karpovlensky, he brought it. He won fair and square. One thing of note before I mention the last fight, the gentleman earlier, Jinash Shalestia. There was something with this fight that I forgot to mention. The Brazilian fighter fought Igra. I said it perfect earlier, and I messed up now. Bragimov earlier in the card. Bragimov missed weight, and the reason why I wanted to bring this fight up was it was asked of Jonas if he wanted to fight at all because technically he moved on. He'd move on. Like I was telling you with Bo Basoka, he would move on. So the Russian fighter's hoping that he takes the fight still. And he did. He's very tall for the division, came out, landed some good, clean offense, moved on. Shout out to him. I got a lot of respect for that because he didn't have to do that. He wanted to compete. He put a camp into defeat to compete. He brought his fight team out there and he got the victory. I needed to take note that he fought a guy who missed weight in a tournament where it was to his advantage to not take the fight, and he was able to take the fight. So shout out to him. I wanted to go back and mention that for the Brazilian fighter. Going off to the top of the card, Ouyang Feng gets a victory over Kasper Mrzinski, and it should be noted that this was with controversy. I thought, personal opinion, Kasper Kaczynski won the fight 2 rounds to 1. I thought that he took 1 and 2 and lost 3. But even 3 was close. If anything, 3 was a good argument for your 10-10. But Fang was able to get the victory. He's a skilled kickboxer. He is, they've been using a regular. He's their champion, the yearly champion outside the tournament at the weight class. Very talented guy. Casper was really upset afterwards. Walked by him. He's like, I'm never fighting in K1 again. He said they thought that they only wanted Fang to win because he was a Chinese fighter, which is extremely odd. If you knew the relationship between Japan and China, you wouldn't probably suggest that. But I think in his upsetness, he brought that up. He thought that that was the reason why, or one of the reasons that contributed to him not getting his nod. So super talented. I think he is and has a big future in the sport. It just didn't go the way this particular time. I hope they use him again. I hope he wants to compete for them again because Glory Kickboxing doesn't have 70 kgs anymore. But good card overall. I think I got most of the ones that I wanted to mention. There were those MMAs. Muhammad Sutari gets a victory over Sheta Yamaguchi. KO with the right hook. More of a power fest there. Wasn't the skilled back and forth that I've had in other fights. Let me see. I feel like I'm missing one that I really wanted to talk about. Nope, I'll just have to ride with that. Yeah, that was it. I do believe I made a mistake earlier. I said the name Kira Matsutani and Aki Sumutsu, which was the female title fight, which was a split decision that went Kira Matsutani's way. I had mentioned that fight, whereas I wanted to talk about, it was not because that was the mistake I made. Kiyomitsu Samuel Nagasawa as he gets a victory over Kudo Ueno. That was the fight that had the decision where I thought Kudo Ueno was the clear better kickboxer. Like, put on really clean shots with the left hand, got off the line, and Nagasawa was more aggressive, more violent with the with moments where he just really brought it, let his hands go, was really aggressive, and he was able to win rounds with 40 seconds of aggression as opposed to 3 minutes of work. I apologize. I had said that card or talked about that fight when I talked about the girls. I'm sorry. I thought I cleared myself up early. I apologize. But when I talked about that fight, that had replaced, I said Kira Matsutani. She goes against Akiri Samutsu. I kept talking about those two ladies. I had this right fight in mind with the wrong names in mind. So I apologize for that. The ladies was A very close fight. If you've ever seen Akai Simutsu, she's a smaller girl. She's like 4'10", and they fought at 99 pounds. Kameko just, or excuse me, Matsutani, very skilled, kept herself long, didn't get in exchanges, was able to find boxing at the right moment, was ready to get off the line. Thought that she put on a clean performance. It went to the cards. I did think that Matsutani had the argument for winning it after three. But once it went to the card, I was like, man, is Aki gonna take this? She's got a good look, brought out, some young people. Some people got behind her. Like she's a talent. She had good people in the crowd too. They supported her. The crowd is very much as K1 has made it over the past 10 years. They want to see their local heroes compete. And Kira Matsutani was able to get the victory and retain her title. So I apologize for making that mistake. I needed to go back and fix that. But that was the last of the major fights that I wanted to talk about from K1. Good show. Their tournament. It's going to be really weird because their tournament final is one day before the K1's before the One Championship card. And of course, One Championship has bought up their main stars. So we'll see what ends, what happens with that, but definitely good stuff. And it's always fun to see K1 put on good shows, and hopefully we'll get more down the road. Last thing I'm talking about is DeBella as he defeats Pranjanchai. I think this fight was originally scheduled for the Japan card, but they decided to do it on its own card here. DeBella is proving to be one of the better smaller weight kickboxing fighters in the world. He's all action. I've been in love with him and his fight style since he fought in Japan back in since he fought in Glory back in New York. He was on the card with us several times when I was a Glory kickboxing matchmaker. He's just a talent. It's very good. He's got a good look, got good kickboxing skill set, and he has a good understanding, like Alzov, of how to fight the Thai style. He doesn't let them rest. He doesn't let them play on the back foot. He takes their offense and he offers boxing. He plays his calf kick. He doesn't play in neutral, because the main thing that Thais get you to do is they get you to try to beat them at their game. He's kickboxing. He's bringing his boxing. He's putting his chops all. He puts it all together. So absolutely fantastic stuff. So the game right now, as I wrap up this show, is basically going to be, what are we going to do with the future of kickboxing? Like, what are we going to do in these next 3 months that's going to make kickboxing look good to the world that doesn't know it on necessarily? And the main things I'd say is this: we got to get behind young stars. We've got to get streaming platforms to put our shows on. And we just got to get those eyes, whether it's Fight Pass or whether it's DAZN. We've got to get more eyes on kickboxing. And when we get our stars, we're the opposite of mixed martial arts. The UFC brand is so powerful that whoever's the champion is a star. We have to have stars to get eyes on the sport. And Miguel Trindad's one of those types of guys. Didn't go Mason Strowman's way, but let's give it some time. See what happens the next time's out. See what happens when he goes against different styles. See what happens there. Kamaru, as I mentioned before, young man, really made a name for himself. Let's see if he can get a good run. Remember, Drago Gago is considered a star, and the best he ever did was get to the semifinals of the K1 Max World Grand Prix. Same for Ray Sefo. Same for a lot of guys. You could be a star in this game by putting on great performances when the eyes are on you. So we got to get more young guys. I'm going to really go into this full in January as we get ready for the year to come. But the game for kickboxing, our action speaks for itself. But it's going to be about new young stars. And you've got to go over all the different weight classes. You got to do, women. You've got to see who's going to bring eyes to the sport that we don't have already. So appreciate everybody for listening. I apologize for the long gaps, but as I said before, I work fights. I travel. I was in Brazil last week. Japan. I've been on a flight like every month. I'm grateful for the opportunity to still be in the sport as a coach in combat sports, but I love kickboxing. So anytime I get the opportunity to sit down and promote and talk about the events, it's just my heart. So God bless. Be safe. And thank you for listening to my podcast. Peace.